You are not shy. You were trained to be afraid. From the earliest years of your childhood, you were taught not to make noise, not to draw attention to yourself, not to speak loudly, not to look weird, not to make mistakes. Every time you wanted to get up on the couch and dance, someone said, "Get down from there, kid. Everyone is watching." And it was at that moment that you learned what Freud would call the reality principle, the idea that the world watches you, judges you, and punishes you. The problem is that you grew up believing this as an absolute truth, when in fact it was the beginning of your imprisonment. Shyness is not a personality trait. Shyness is mental software programmed to keep you safe, predictable, and invisible. Your mind protects you, yes, but at the cost of burying your voice, silencing your desires, and sabotaging your connections. And you call this the quiet way. You have become accustomed to being a spectator of your own life, while courage passes you by dressed as other people. And the cruelest thing? You have normalized this internal silence. You have become hostage to a fear that is not even yours. It is inherited. Nietzsche said that what defines a man is not what he avoids, but what he confronts. And if you have not yet faced your shyness as an enemy, it is because it has camouflaged itself as essence. You believe that you are like this, withdrawn, reserved, introspective. But what you are is conditioned. There is an abyss between essence and habit, and in this abyss your power is hidden. What you call being quieter may just be the hangover of years of feeling wrong for daring to show up. The truth is brutal. Shyness does not protect you. It diminishes you. It prevents you from experiencing love, from conquering opportunities, from connecting with the intensity you desire. And the saddest thing? It does this without using shouts, only whispers. Be quiet, wait a little longer, not now. It does not defeat you with force, but with persuasion. But that changes now. You will understand why your mind lies. You will discover why your shyness is not shyness, but rather a thinly disguised ego. And, most of all, you will learn how to silence the voice of fear so that yours can finally be heard. This is not just about overcoming shyness. It is about reclaiming your presence. The shy person is not humble. The shy person is, in essence, an egocentric trained in silence. Does that sound offensive? Perfect. Because the truth needs to hurt before it can heal. While you believe that your shyness is a kind of social modesty, what really exists is an illusion of protagonism. The fantasy that everyone is watching, judging, and analyzing every word that comes out of your mouth. This is not shyness. This is vanity disguised as withdrawal. Psychology calls this spotlight syndrome. The individual believes that other people's attention is always on him or her. Shy people carry this invisible delusion. When they enter a room, they believe that everyone has noticed their clothes, the way they walk, the sentence they messed up. They didn't notice. No one noticed. And it's not because you're doing well, it's because no one cares. Everyone is swallowed up by their own internal world. People are too busy thinking about themselves, just like you are doing right now. A study was conducted at an American university. Students were forced to enter a crowded room wearing a flashy and embarrassing t-shirt. Then they asked the rest of the class if they remembered the t-shirt. More than 90% had no idea. Do you know why? Because most people are too busy trying to hide their own insecurities to worry about yours. The shy person suffers from a narcissistic distortion. He believes that his presence causes waves in a sea where in fact no one noticed the rock. You're afraid of being rejected, judged, ignored. But what if I told you that the real terror is in being ignored even after trying? That is the real panic. It is not the looks of others. It is the silence, the indifference, the lack of applause after finally gathering courage. That is why the mind prefers not to try. Because real failure, the one that reveals that you were not as interesting as you imagined, that is more devastating than rejection. The root of shyness lies in a well-told lie, that making mistakes in public is unacceptable, that failing socially is a sentence. And this lie is reinforced by a pedagogy based on punishment. As a child, you were severely corrected when you crossed the line. You laughed too loudly, interrupted adults, spoke when you shouldn't have. Society taught you that standing out was dangerous, being noticed was synonymous with punishment. And you learned. The lesson was tattooed on your cerebral amygdala, the region where the brain stores fear. The Spanish philosopher Ortega y Gasset said that surrendering to fascination is the secret of seduction. And ironically, the shy person surrenders to the fascination of his own insecurity. He becomes hypnotized by his fears. He falls in love with the idea of hiding. And the longer he stays in the dark, the more the light scares him. But here's the contradiction that no one told you. It's not exposure that hurts you. It's stagnation. It is not the judgment that destroys you. It is the expectation of being judged and never facing the court. Because the silence of action will never be as cruel as the noise of omission. And yet, you feed the narrative of self-preservation. I'm more observant. I prefer to listen than to talk. I don't like to show off. But if that were all, you wouldn't feel anguish when ignored. You wouldn't secretly want to be seen, heard, validated. There is a cruel paradox in the heart of the shy person. They want to be noticed, but they fear being seen. They want to be recognized, but they hide from the opportunity. They dream of applause, but they can't stand the stage. And when someone dares to draw attention to themselves, when someone walks in confidently, laughs out loud, catches everyone's eye, the shy person feels angry, but this anger isn't at the other person. It's at their own cowardice. It's a resentment for not being able to do the same. Nietzsche defines the resentful person as someone who blames the world for their own impotence. Shyness, when not faced, turns into social resentment. And this resentment turns into judgment of the bold. How many times have you criticized the guy who comes in with attitude? Too forced, too showy, just trying to show off. But maybe he's just free from a fear that you haven't learned to overcome yet. Maybe he's just someone who decided to pay the price of rejection to win the prize of freedom. And you're still counting coins of social acceptance. You say you have difficulty socializing, but the truth is that you're afraid of being uninteresting. You think you need to have a great story, a good joke, a perfect comeback. You don't. You need presence. The shy person's mind lives in the future. What if I stutter? What if they don't like me? What if I get her name wrong? These are all fictional scenarios. Shyness isn't fear of what's happening, it's fear of what might happen. It's anticipatory anxiety. It's like running away from a fire that hasn't even started yet, and maybe doesn't even exist. And this running away has consequences. Every opportunity ignored is an atrophied social muscle. Every conversation you avoided was a practice that didn't happen. You want to be confident without practicing confidence. You want to be magnetic without putting yourself in motion. You want to be seductive without leaving your cave. That's not shyness. That's fantasy. You wait to feel ready to act, but the paradox is that readiness only comes from action. You'll only be prepared after you've done it. And that hurts your ego, because the shy person wants to overcome shyness without feeling vulnerable. But there is no growth without exposure. There is no evolution without discomfort. And above all, there is no achievement without risk. The biggest risk is staying the same. And when you understand this, you begin to realize that shyness is a filter, a mechanism that your mind uses to stop you from living intensely. And why? Because truly living requires losing control. It requires making mistakes in public, talking nonsense, laughing at yourself, being rejected, and still keeping your spine straight. Living requires facing up to things. But there's something even crueler: time. Shyness is perverse because it accumulates, it grows, it becomes part of your identity, and suddenly you start saying, I am like this, as if it were genetic, as if it were inevitable, as if it were condemnation. You are not shy. You are shy. And you may not be tomorrow if you decide to break this cycle now. But before we show you the way, we need to break the anesthesia. The shy person does not free himself through motivation. He frees himself through the brutality of consciousness. You need to understand the price you are paying for this cautious self-image. How many opportunities have you let pass you by? How many incredible people have you failed to meet? How many invitations have you turned down? How many words have gotten stuck in your throat? Shyness has not protected you. It has only saved you from living. And when you truly understand this, not as a concept, but as an existential punch, then the next step becomes inevitable. You will need to face discomfort as your new teacher. And in this encounter, fear will not disappear, but something stronger will be born. The decision to go even when afraid. because that is what differentiates the shy person from the confident person. It is not the absence of insecurity. It is the choice to act in spite of it. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about now. You've heard it said that courage is the absence of fear. That's a lie. Courage is the decision to move forward even when you're shaking. What separates a confident man from a shy man is not fear. It's the pact he's made with discomfort. What about you? What pact have you made with your stagnation? The idea that one day I'll feel ready is the best-selling lie in the modern world. It's packaged in pretty self-help phrases and delivered like anesthesia. But the truth is brutal. Readiness doesn't precede action. It's born within action. And until you understand this in your body, not in your head, but in your sweat, your stutter, your trembling, you'll continue to believe that shyness is an unsolvable problem. It's not. It's an untrained muscle. Think about your body right now. A sedentary person who watches bodybuilding videos feels the same way you do watching extroverts dominate environments. Inspiration mixed with frustration. He says, "I wish I was like that." But when he steps into the gym, he wants to start with 50 kilograms on each side on the bench press. Result? Injury, humiliation, giving up. You do the same with your social life. You want to dominate environments without speaking to the doorman. You want to be magnetic without exchanging 2 sentences with the lady at the cafeteria. You want to be desired without being seen. This is not ambition. It is delusion. Discomfort is the first instructor of confidence, and like any training, it starts small. Daily, calculated, conscious discomforts. Asking a stranger for information, asking a question louder, telling a silly joke and laughing even if no one else laughs along. These are not social tests, they are flexing of the soul. Each of these gestures stretches your tolerance for exposure. And exposure, my friend, is the stage where the true self appears. You still believe that you need to overcome fear in order to act. But the truth is that you need to act in order to understand that fear was never real. It was just the echo of untested thoughts. The mind creates monsters where there is no real danger. It anticipates failures, creates rejections, and creates judgmental audiences. And you, hypnotized, obey. But now you know, fear is just a scenario you've never experienced. And living a fear is the quickest way to overcome it. Discomfort is the simulator of courage, and courage, repeated every day, becomes identity. Are you afraid of looking ridiculous? Great. Look for the ridiculous. Seek it out. Wear a bizarre t-shirt, speak loudly on the bus, record an audio message at the supermarket. Do this not to attract attention, but to train your indifference to the gaze of others. Because this is true power, the ability to keep going even when being observed. How many times have you stopped trying because someone might laugh? How many times have you swallowed an idea for fear of making a mistake in front of strangers? You've lived more to avoid embarrassment than to feel joy. And this, over time, becomes a pattern, an armor. But unlike the armor of warriors, this armor doesn't protect. It weighs you down, it sinks you, and when you want to run, it pins you to the ground. Now imagine that you are carrying a belt of emotional bombs. Each one is activated by triggers that society has taught you to fear. Strange looks, a smile from the corner of your mouth, silence after speaking. The shy person spends his life trying to avoid the explosion of these triggers. The confident person, on the other hand, disarms them one by one. How? By going to the minefield, feeling the tension, and discovering, to his amazement, that none of the bombs actually explode. But this is where you might sabotage yourself. By trying to run before you can walk. You want to approach unknown women without being able to maintain eye contact with the pharmacy attendant. You want to network at business events without being able to hold a simple conversation with your neighbor. You want to be magnetic without first becoming minimally social. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be functional. The shy person wants to be perfect. And that's why he freezes. He doesn't accept the learning curve. He wants the result of the final chapter without writing the paragraphs at the beginning. And this arrogance, camouflaged as insecurity, is what imprisons him. Let's get practical now. Do you want to overcome your shyness? Here is a simple social deconstruction protocol. 1. Talk to strangers daily. Start by asking for simple information. Do you know where this street is? Is there a good restaurant around here? Do you know this store? The key here is to end with a thank you, have a great day, looking them in the eye. 2. Move on to the second topic. Asking is the first level, engaging is the second. After the person answers you, ask something related. Example, do you like Japanese food, or which restaurant do you recommend? This creates the habit of keeping the conversation going. 3. Use your voice in public. Record WhatsApp audios in a firm voice. Answer calls on the bus. Tell a story in the middle of the square. Your goal, to be at peace with the sound of your own voice in environments where you used to be silent. 4. Tell jokes and laugh first. Yes, it may sound stupid, but laughing at yourself in public is the most powerful exercise in social deconditioning. You show your brain that laughter can start with you. You don't need validation from others. 5. Seek out discomfort. Deliberately. Find situations that used to paralyze you and approach them with the eyes of a scientist. Feel the shame, study it, go through it. Discomfort is a training zone. You don't win by running away. You win by exposing yourself until the discomfort becomes a daily occurrence. And here's the best kept secret. There is no straight line in evolution. There will be days when you feel invincible, and the next, you'll want to disappear. There will be approaches that flow like magic, and others where you'll stutter until you forget your own name. That's normal. Progress is chaotic. The line of evolution is a nervous graph, full of peaks and valleys. The problem is that the shy person believes that one bad day invalidates all progress. It doesn't invalidate, it strengthens. And do you know what stops you from continuing? The belief that you can't make mistakes. But making mistakes is the method. You're not a social robot, you're human. And humans learn by trying, not by theory. The pain you feel when rejected is not failure, it's data, information. You test, collect, adjust, improve. Every rejection, every awkward silence, every disinterested look is a signal, not to give up, but to recalibrate. Do you want to master the social game? Then play. Losing is part of the training, and losing often is what makes you unbeatable. Tim Ferriss, author and investor, says that confidence is the byproduct of repeated exposure to discomfort. Read that again. It's not a gift, it's a byproduct, something that comes after the effort, not before. If you wait for confidence to act, you'll never act. If you act even without confidence, it appears, quietly. Little by little, first a firmer gaze, then a more open posture, a spontaneous laugh, a comment without overthinking. And before you know it, you'll be doing what was once unthinkable, without asking yourself for permission. And here's the final truth of this chapter. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's the map. It shows you where you're limited, where your courage hasn't arrived yet, where you're still trapped in the image you've built to protect yourself. And if you use that map, if you follow the path of discomfort, you'll find a version of yourself that already exists, but is buried under layers of fear and conditioning. It's not about being an extrovert, it's about being free. And freedom in this context is the ability to express yourself without begging for acceptance. It's walking around knowing that you can make mistakes, you can stumble, you can stutter, and you still deserve to be there. That's not arrogance, it's personal sovereignty, it's presence, it's inner dignity. And dignity is not earned by waiting, it is earned by facing it. And if you've made it this far, congratulations, you've already started. Because now, the next step is no longer an inspiration. It's a requirement. You need to act, you need to feel, you need to train. Because what comes next is the ultimate mental adjustment. How to reprogram your mind to no longer serve fear, but your own power. You weren't born with a fear of public speaking, nor with shame when it comes to making conversation. It was ingrained in you. Every time you were told no, every look you interpreted as judgment, every time someone tried to correct you in the name of good manners. All of this has been accumulating like plaques in your mind. Shyness is an algorithm, a mental code that needs to be reprogrammed. And that requires war, but not against others, against yourself. The mind that got you here is not the same one that will take you where you want to go. And that is the fatal mistake most shy people make, trying to overcome their fear with the same kind of thinking that feeds it. You convince yourself that you need to improve, prepare more, study more, but what you are doing is strengthening the system that paralyzes you. A shy mind doesn't need more arguments, it needs to be replaced by another. A combat mind. And this mind is only born on the battlefield, in sweat, in discomfort, in mistakes. But before that, you need to understand something simple and powerful. You are not your mind. It sounds cliché, but it is the truth that sets you free. Your thoughts are not orders, they are suggestions. And almost always, they are cowardly suggestions. Be quiet, wait a little longer, don't expose yourself. Your mind wants comfort, but your soul wants freedom, and that is the tension you need to resolve. When a thought arises, they will laugh at me, I will make a mistake, she will ignore me. Stop, observe, and tell yourself, this is just a thought, not a fact. This separation is the root of mental autonomy. You will not eliminate fear, but you will create space between fear and action. And it is in this space that your freedom lies. And then you will realize something else. Shyness was just the first layer. Beneath it lies a healthy introversion, a refined observation, a rare depth. Many of the most magnetic men you've ever seen are introverts who have overcome shyness, not abandoned their essence, but mastered their own presence. They don't need to talk all the time, but when they do, the atmosphere changes. Introversion is not weakness, it's contained power, but shyness is weakness when it stops you from living. And the problem is that shy people start to romanticize shyness. They think it's nice to be more reserved, more quiet, but if that's stopping you from getting what you want, then it's not a trait, it's a block. And here begins the plan. Step 1. Brutal self-knowledge. You need to look at yourself with the coldness of a strategist. Where are your biggest embarrassments? Where do you block? What triggers your social anxiety? What kind of environment silences you? What kind of person intimidates you? Answer this on paper. Name the enemy. Only then will you be able to face it. Step 2. Disidentification with the shy self. Every time you say, I'm shy, you're reinforcing your character. Replace it with, I'm practicing my social courage. Words create identities, and identities shape behavior. Never again say that you're something you want to overcome. That's a pledge of allegiance to weakness. Step 3. Deliberately acclimate to discomfort. You will choose to enter uncomfortable situations not to overcome fear, but to get used to it. Familiar fear is controllable fear. Go where your heart beats. Stay there. Breathe. Laugh at yourself. And most of all, record every small victory. Started a conversation? Write it down. Got ignored and survived? Write it down. Stuttered and kept going anyway? Write it down. Confidence is born from history, and you need a new history. Step 4. Intelligent external support. Yes, therapy. Yes, mentors. Yes, friends who challenge you. This is not a weakness, it is a resource. You are not a lone hero, and those who try to be, fall alone. Having someone tell you, that's just your mind lying to you, can be a game changer. Having someone challenge you to tell a joke to a stranger can redefine your self-perception. The fastest growth happens under pressure and guidance. Step 5. Action without attachment to the outcome. You don't need it to work out, you need it to happen. The shy person wants control over what they're going to say, how the other person is going to react, the right time to act. That doesn't exist. Life is unpredictable, and your job is not to predict, it's to get through. Stop trying to predict the end. Go there. Find out. And now comes the cruelest part, and the most liberating. You will fail. You will make mistakes. You will feel pathetic. You will want to disappear. You will hate yourself. You will want to go back to silence. You will ask yourself, why am I doing this? And when that moment comes, you will be at the exact point of transformation. Because true confidence is not born from victory. It is born from staying in failure without losing momentum. When you learn to keep going, even after failing, nothing stops you. Because the worst thing has already happened, and you survived. And then comes what no one told you. Confidence has a smell, a way of walking, a way of looking, a tone of voice. But none of this is learned as a formula. It is built brick by brick within the battlefield of exposure. With each failed approach, a new layer. With each stutter faced, a new foundation. With each silence crossed, a new ceiling. You don't need techniques, you need presence. And presence is not trained with books, it is trained in the field. Talking to the cashier at the supermarket, making conversation with the security guard. And one day, you will realize that you are no longer faking confidence. It has become flesh, it has become breath, it has become you. But even so, there will be bad days. Days when you will feel like you have regressed, that you have gone back to being the same. On those days, remember, evolution is not linear. Some days you climb, others you slip. But if you keep climbing, you are already winning. And then the most important thing, awareness of mission. You need to remember why you started, for who you want to become, and what's at stake if you give up. Because the pain of rejection is small, but the pain of regret, that follows you to the grave. And that's what the shy forget. That rejection teaches, but regret condemns. You'll never know what could have been. You'll never have the memory of that conversation that didn't happen. That kiss that didn't come, that opportunity that died in your fear. Don't be that man. Be the man who tries, who exposes himself, who speaks, who makes mistakes, who laughs, who comes back, who trains, who insists, who learns, who grows, who looks in the mirror and says, that version, I built it. That's your war, that's your mission, and now you already have the plan.